Oh, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza, your host here at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. I am so excited to introduce you to my new guest today. Her name is Colleen. She goes into the Akashic Records. She does all kinds of light language, and if you guys know me, I love light language. So let's bring her in right now. Welcome, Colleen. I am so excited to have you here on my podcast. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Where are you in the world right now?
Right now, at this very moment in time, I am in Costa Rica. This is where I actually live and I call home, we'll say.
Uh-huh. I love it. Costa Rica has been calling me. So many people that I have spoken with have mentioned Costa Rica. I'm like, there it is again. There it is again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful expansion, we'll call it, to be
Mm.
in. And if you travel here for longer than 2 weeks, you'll understand what I mean. We'll just leave it at that.
What made you move there? Or should I ask you this later on?
No, it was an intuitive hit, really. I woke up one day and I knew I was going south. I thought it was more like Florida or Austin, Texas was dropping in. And then it was like, you're going to Costa Rica. And I was like, okay, when am I leaving? And they're like, in the fall, because it was in like the springtime. And I'm like, should I start selling stuff now? And they're like, yep. And literally, that's how it happened.
Oh, I love it. So
Yeah.
let's back up a little and tell us a little bit about how your life was before you had this awareness of your spiritual abilities and the connection that you have with spirit, which is quite apparent.
Yeah, like I don't like, I want to say like the average human, that's going through life, dealing with my stuff, moving through my insecurities, living in a world that I thought was very linear and then come to realize, years later that nothing is linear and that everything is expanded and dimensional and there's so many facets to the world. And, I grew up in environments that we were a middle class family. So I played sports. I, went to school. I did the things. Both of my parents worked. We had an average life, we'll call it, in the space of everything. We went to church. I was raised Roman Catholic, and it was kind of like that's what you did, in the space of everything. And I knew at a younger age, I was always questioning the rules, let's say, and the boundaries and why do we have this? Why are things maneuvering this way? And this doesn't make any sense why we have to follow these rules that don't make sense. And I was always that like warrior type of energy, the one that was always questioning. And as I grew up in life, it was the same thing. And then when I got into later teenage years and early 20s, my intuition was really, really strong then. And I purposely did things opposing to it. So it was almost like I went on this really amazing journey, I call it, because I've got so many stories I could share about what happens when you go against your intuition. Super fun times.
Oh, please do.
Like, oh my
You can
God.
share, you don't have to share so many, but yeah, please do so
Yeah.
people can see what it's like when you go
Oh,
against it.
it's just chaos. Like it's like you create chaos. You purposely create situations in your life of struggle. Like that's what you do. And the more you literally ignore or pretend like it's not happening, the more it amplifies. The more shadow and shitstorms and things come through your world in the space of everything when you're going opposing to the actual pathway. It just gets really hard. Like, and I say I like part of my ego was driven to be like, look at how hard it was. And I still got to the other side. It was like all this like game. And then just one day I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with like this struggle and all this stuff. And I'm just going to start to listen. And literally, that's just how it started to change. And I just started to listen and things started to maneuver around me. And people were like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know how I know that. I just know. And I just kept expanding from there. So, yeah.
Amazing. So you really, even when you were going against your intuition, whatever you were receiving, you were aware that you were going
Mhm.
against. You were aware there was something there, but rebel teenager here.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, and I
I'm
didn't
not
have
listening.
anyone. Yeah, I didn't have anyone in my life talking spirituality. Like there was nobody
Mhm.
in my world that was talking to me about spiritual stuff and dimensional beings and divine, like other than God and Jesus from the Bible, like and very religious background. I didn't come from a place that anybody was talking about this. Like I didn't, nobody had this conversation with me. Nobody talked to me about my intuition, none of that, you know. And my mom claims, and I still don't believe her, but my mom claims that when I was 3 years old, she knew I was an indigo child. And I said, Mom, then why didn't you raise me like an indigo child? Like, why wouldn't you raise me that way? You never raised me as like knowing an indigo. And I'm like, I still don't believe her. I think that someone told her that and then she pretended. But anyways, that's just me, thinking about that.
Wow.
Yeah, in the space of everything. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it feels like maybe she did get this intuitive hit that you were, but then she didn't know what to do with it. Because back
Yeah,
then,
and that
when
could be it
when we
too.
were kids,
Yeah.
like you said, the regular thing was the church, whatever church we belonged to, and
Yeah.
the sports and parents working, and that was it. And so it's like, what is this indigo child thing? Like, what do I
Mm-hmm.
do with it? So it almost feels like perhaps she knew, and but then she's like, what do I do with it? What am I going to do with it? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to help this child. And just like you said, there was nobody else talking about this, right?
And it could be, but it's also in the point of when I was like 23 and I started having these conversations and like 28 years old and 30, with her. And she was like, I always knew. And I was like, but I just don't understand. If you knew, then why wouldn't you change something? But I get where you're coming from. Like maybe she was scared or she didn't fully believe or know, or like, because I look back and I go, man, I was a hard kid to raise. Like I was that challenging child. And when my mom said to me growing up, I hope you have two girls just like you, I didn't realize she was cursing me, like,
You
because
were
then
that bad, huh?
yeah, yeah, my response back to her was like, I hope I have two kids just like me because I'll know how to raise them and I'll know how to parent them. And that was my response back to her. And I'm like, yeah, oh, she got it good for with me as a kid, like yeah, she got it good because I was always pushing a boundary because I don't believe, and this is the work I do now. It's like I dismantle conformity and the boxes we play within. So I don't believe, and I always didn't believe that we should be playing in this box. So growing up, even, it was like I was rebelling against the boxes, not understanding that my mission on earth is literally to dismantle them. So yeah, that's
I
crazy.
love that. So, okay, so then you got to a point when you're like, okay, enough. I've had enough of this. I'm going to start listening now. What
Mm-hmm.
exactly are you listening to? Is it a voice? Is it a knowing? What does it feel like?
I always say I like hear, but I don't actually hear, like meaning I don't hear a voice coming in. It is a drop into my energy, meaning like a thought. It will be a thought that comes through. And then I've learned over the years to work with that energy. So it moves through me really easily. Like right now, I'm like, this is the hit that comes in. And I'm like, sometimes I argue with them because that's just who I am. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I always take action on it anyways. But sometimes I just want to push back against some stuff, and they just look down at me and be like, like, are you really asking this question? And I'm like, yeah. So it comes in like I have a really strong inner knowing and a really strong like clear feeling, whatever the words are. I can all never remember them, but I feel everything and I know everything. And then when I channel, I see it or I hear it. And these days I'm tasting a lot and smelling a lot. So those senses are really being activated as well. But yeah, it's just a knowing. It's like I just know. It just drops in like where am I taking action? What are we promoting today? What am I offering out? How am I stepping in? Who needs service? And I just get the hits and they just keep dropping in. And it's just like this knowing that this is the space. So yeah.
I love it. It's like having this like personal God out there seeing like, okay, that person over there, okay, this thing over here you need to do. Like, how amazing is that? That connection, right?
Yeah, well, we all have it. It's just a
Uh-huh.
matter of whether we use it or not, and we trust it. And over the years, I've confirmed and confirmed and confirmed and worked with it and worked with it. And when I go against it, I know like stuff happens. Like I always give the smallest storyline that is like the minutia of stories, but it is the most potent one that I never forget. It was like one day I'm going out to take the garbage, and I just hear you should bring your keys. And I'm like, why am I going to bring my keys to go to the garbage? It's like literally outside the door, down the driveway. So I didn't bring my keys. I go bring the garbage out. I come back and the door is locked. And I'm like, what the heck is happening? Now, luckily, the day before, I unlocked the window on an intuitive hit where something said, you should unlock this window. And I listened the day before, luckily, so I could get back into my house because I couldn't, none of the other doors were unlocked. And I couldn't get to the back patio door because it's all gated in and all these things. And literally, though, the window I had to climb up was an 8 foot high window. So I literally had to go find something to step on. And I had really weak triceps at the time. So you try to do like a tricep push-up coming into your window while your dog and cat are right in the window trying to lick your face. It was really entertaining and exciting all at the same time. But I'm like, I remember, but this is the story I remember. Like the hit came in and said, take your keys. And I didn't listen. And then the door was locked. How did the door get locked? I have no idea how the door got locked. Probably to smack me across the face to start to actually listen. So it's like these small things that when we start to really move with them and listen to them, that's where we accelerate this in our world. So yeah.
Yeah, and also when we start paying attention and acknowledging that,
Mm,
oh, I did hear it. Oh, this is why I'm putting it all together. And then that's when you begin to open up more, listen more, hear more of your own intuitive hits because you're paying attention now as opposed to just dismissing them.
right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So you started also working with the Akashic Records. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did that come about? Is it something that you just knew, or did you take a course, or like how did that happen?
Yeah, so back in 2018, I got certified through the Akashic Records through a program that a mentor at the time of mine was hosting. And I used her model for a couple of years, helped assist her with creating new levels and different aspects of that work. And I started in 2020 to really morph the work based on what I was feeling intuitively. And I started connecting in with the keepers of the records, which most people don't know. There's actually divine beings that are what they call the keepers of the records, that are the alliance, we'll call it, that are like tapped into just specifically their soul's purpose is to assist with the records, holding them in a safety space, helping people channel through them and all the things. And in 2022, I launched my own certification program, channeled through their energies into the world. And I teach people how to use the records for their own self, how to step up in to use them for others. And just recently, literally this year, within the last few months, actually, I've been told to reframe the certification program and change some stuff and really compartmentalize certain aspects of it so that people can get into more potency inside of the space. Like right now, literally in October, I launched what I call the dark arts training. And I thought it was so cool when it dropped in because I was like, I love Harry Potter. And I always wanted to like go to like the dark arts class, you know, like that would have been my MO. Like if I was there, I'd be like, teach me all the things. And so I've segregated parts of the records and the clearing aspects to be able to work within like spells and curses and clearing energies and demonic energies and dark lord energies and all the shadows we're dealing with on the earth now. And it's specifically in a 1 day training. And if people want to get certified in it, they just have to do some case studies and stuff to be able to use it with others. But it's more so for the tools and assets we're going to be needing as we move through this acceleration of light and this expansion that we're knee deep in the density of. But it's like the Akashic Records, if you don't know, is like the aspect and all the aspects to our soul. I call it like the filing cabinet. So it's like when you open your records, you can get access to everything, past life, dimensional lives, future lives, things that you've committed to inside of the space of your missions on earth, certain aspects as to why certain cycles and things are happening and patterns in your world, ancestral lineage energies. You can tap into soul groups and all the trainings that you've ever taken and your natural gifts, and everything is in the records. And it's a really cool way to work within some infrastructures and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you for asking that. It was interesting because as you were speaking, I heard some people don't know what the Akashic Records are, so you need to ask that. And I was like, okay, I'll ask that. I'm going to have to rewind. And then you said it. I was like, oh, great. There it is. Amazing.
We're in alignment energetically for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Um, so when someone comes to you as a client and you use the Akashic Records, how do you use the Akashic Records to help them?
Yeah, so there's multiple ways people can play in that field with me. I call it play because I want to play in life all the time. I think life should be joyous and fun. So I use the words play and juicy and like things like that to describe things because I don't know about you, but like I want to live a vibrant life like that. I want joy and laughter and fun in my world. So I'm like, come and play. It doesn't mean that the shadow work is a lot of fun, but when we layer in the dimensions of being able to move through some energy that way, it makes it just a lot more potent. So multiple ways people can come into the field. We can just do an Akashic Records session, which I lead this. And if you've ever heard of this before, some people lead it in different information and they tap into like your soul groups and gifts and stuff like that. I don't do that kind of work any longer unless people really desire to know that. I want to work specifically in the energetics to be like, what do we got going on in your field that needs to be removed, cleared, or honored? And then I tap into channeled messages that are necessary at this moment of time for you to move through. And then you can ask any kind of question you want in that type of session. I use the records also in my entrepreneurship work to help what I call lightpreneurs be able to hold their missions on earth and tap in to find out how are they showing up in the world? What does this mean for them? What offers are they aligned with? How are they to market? Where are their people? And calling in that contract that they've created to be able to hold this service and perform these programs and services into the world and really help them step up into that confidence that this is their mission on earth and help them really fine tune that aspect. And then obviously I teach and train in the records as well. And a lot of the times when I'm doing more psychic type of work, I'm tapped right into them too. So yeah.
Perfect. I wanted to ask you about light language. So I had mentioned to the audience right before you came in that you do and you channel different types of light language, and I love light language. I find that it's one of the fastest ways to heal. And I always love when I have someone else who talks about light language because it just brings a different aspect, a different point of view of what it is and how it's used. Or so can you tell us a little bit more about what light language is for you?
Yeah, so light language is like, let's call it like a galactic language. Let's call it that. So back, I don't even know, thousands and thousands of years ago, probably tens of thousands, maybe of years ago, they used to only speak light language on the earth. There wasn't actually languages like we know today in English and Spanish and all the things that we speak in the world now. There was only light language and telepathic communication. And light language is more so tonality. Sometimes it comes through the vibration of singing, certain sounds, certain mechanisms, or it comes through in a language that most of you will recognize when you hear it. And when I say recognize, it's like you will remember, or parts of you will remember aspects of light language. Now, each realm and each deity speaks it in different ways. There's different tongue in connection with different deities. So if I'm channeling goddess Isis and then I go to channel, let's say, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, although the lineage moves because they have Egyptian lineage keys in their energy, could sound similar, but could be a totally different tonality or vibration that comes through. And just like you said, it's a quantum language, which means that we're not just working in three-dimensional energies. We are literally tapped in to divinity, the galactics, divine coding. So when we speak it, it clears instantly, it activates instantly, it moves through. Now the human needs to accept that. That's an acceptance that moves through and bring it into the field. But we have access to this. So it literally is like the biohacking supernova spiritual aspect that when you get activated or you're listening to transmissions that come through, which is what I usually call them, activations or transmissions with light language, that it's moving through an energy at galactic speed. So it's not something we can even really comprehend logically. It just is more feeling and frequency that drives into the field. So
How did you first start transmitting it?
yeah, so I met a light language mentor back in 2021. And I was just really drawn to her. And she's like, let's do a session together. And I will channel, like she works a lot with the dragon energy, and I'll channel dragons. And so literally, she just started talking like dragon light language. And I was like, what is this? Like, I had no clue, no clue. So, like, it's almost like naive Colleen in 2021. like understood psychic stuff, moved through some things. And then all of a sudden, light language dropped into my field. I was like, what is this? And I was playing it for everyone. I was like, because she recorded it for me. And I was playing it for everyone. I was like, listen to this. This is dragons. And this is like, I was like this little kid in a candy store in this anomaly. And then in 2022, the latter part of 2021, early 2022, she launched a program that was a Kundalini awakening activation program. And something said, you just need to take this. And I did. And then through that, and some of the work I was doing through the Sophia Code and working with Goddess Hathor, who literally is one of the key dynamics deities that literally activates throat chakra and light language in people. And like she was very much big in mystic schools. I was working with all these energies, and then I just one day started speaking it. And, the first time I ever channeled it in a master class, I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think that is this a real thing. Like, I don't even know if this is something. And then all of a sudden I just started stepping in and stepping in. And then in September of 2022, I launched my 12 Veils program, which Hathor was a key part of that. And I channeled light language every single week in that program where we were clearing dimensional energies. And it's just like I never looked back. And now I channel all different kinds of energies through it. I've recorded a light language album that someday potentially will come into the world. There'll be a single that drops this year for sure, but I don't know if the whole album will ever get out because the energy of the producer was distorted, and I just have to re-record, I think. But yeah, that's kind of the journey.
Wow. So what did people say when you started sharing that first recording that you received?
Yeah, they were just like, this is cool. And they just kept moving through it. Like I didn't have any hesitation. If people couldn't hold the energy, they fell out of my world. And it's the exact same thing today. Like I watch some people that don't want to deal with their stuff because I am an activator, which means you come into my field, you're going to see what is necessary to move through you. Like that's just who I am. Like I don't do it on purpose. I don't try to do it to you. You come, even as a friend, you come into my space, we're hanging out in the car for a 3 hour road trip together. I'm sorry, but you're getting activated. Like you're just in my energy, and I'm not trying to activate you. I am an activation. So I just, if they can't hold it, they can't hold it. And I honor all of that. So people that come into my world that have no clue about light language just drop right in and are just like, this is what we do. Like there isn't a hesitation because they know that this is the path for them. So
I love how grounded you are and how you just hold on to your energy. Because I've heard this so many times from different healers who are just starting to come out
mm,
into the world, and the fear of being judged or being pushed out of spaces really makes the new person who's not completely grounded or sure or trusting in what's coming on to lower the frequency so they can match the ones that are lower. But you're like,
mm,
I'm up here, babe. You want to
yeah.
be with me? Come up. Like you're making the other person's energy rise up to the highest good. And I'm pretty sure that they would not want to or agree or end up on a 3 hour car ride with you if their soul wasn't ready to accept you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I got so many stories about this and just in general, like, and even this past weekend, another confirmation when I went to go get my cat in Canada. The woman that had my cat, this is a really long story, but my cat chose to stay in Canada. She told me she wasn't moving to Costa Rica. Something transpired over the last couple months. She's ready to come to Costa Rica. So, like, I went and got her. And the woman that had her said, you didn't just come physically to get Tony, you actually came for me. And just being in your energy, when she dropped off the paperwork I needed to get the government to sign the next day, she went home, started journaling, hasn't opened up her journal in months, started talking to herself again and realizing how off path she's been and how she's been hiding from herself. And we never talked about any of that. It was superficial conversation as humans we were talking about, never about soul missions or pathways or how she's using her intuition, none of that. It was, and so it's really interesting, being in the space of things. But it's like I live by the mantra, step in or step out. Step in or step out. And that goes for me too. Like if I desire to be in certain levels of my life and to connect with certain people and to live a certain life, I have to do the same thing. I have to step in or I need to step out. Like that's the thing,
So it's almost like your cat knew this person is not ready, so I must stay here till she's ready to receive your activation.
Well, so this woman who has my cat used to be a really good friend of mine who also was in a lot of my work. And then she made a decision to go back into working in the school system, which may or may not be her pathway. And when she made that choice, she dropped her vibration down and stopped doing all the work. And that was 2 years ago, right? So I've been in Costa Rica almost 2 years. And I feel that Tony went to go to her to work because Tony said, I'm going to live with Jackie. Like, and she never even met Jackie. I was like, how do you even, what? And I just trusted the whole process of it all. And I think that Tony went to go live with Jackie in the perspective of what she could see Jackie would do. And then Jackie made a human choice to not step into that. And then distortion and shadow started moving through her field. And Tony actually was the one that called for me to come back. That piqued Jackie into saying, look, I can't keep her any longer. I don't think she's happy here. And plus we're moving and I can't bring cats and all these things and all the human excuses that come through then when we're making decisions. But I really feel it was Tony going, you need to get me out of here because I can't do my work anymore. Tony's a healer, a channeler. I asked her the other day, what would you like me to call you? And she's like, Transcendence is my title. And I was like, all right. She's 14. So she's been down numerous pathways. I've watched her heal people. I've watched her sit on people's laps and take bladder infections out of their bodies. I watch her like heal people. And she's like, Mom, it's time for us to be on our next adventure together. And so I went and got her. And most people thought I was nuts. They're like, how much money did it cost you to go back? It was like over $3,000 to go get her, paperwork, all the vet stuff, all the things, like everything. And I'm just like, but that's what we do. We just trust in the process and move it through. If she's supposed to come and be here, then she's coming and being here, and I'll figure it all out. It's just the way of life. So,
Oh, I love
yeah.
that. So are you also like an animal communicator, or do you just communicate with her, with
Well,
Tony?
I
Transcendence.
took, yeah, animal communication was my first official program that I ever took spiritually that I took
Okay.
for fun. So it was at the beginning parts of and 15 years ago, literally, that was the first program I ever took. I had an animal communicator, a girlfriend of mine, tap into Tony when this dropped in. Because I'm too energetically connected emotionally to my animals, sometimes it's hard to make decisions in their best interest when I'm tied so tightly to their energy field, because it's more so like me making a decision than what I'm deciding is in the best interest for them. But like this time around, but Tony told me in August of 2022 that she wasn't coming. And I had that conversation with her in the space of it all. But to go get her, I wanted to make sure she wanted to come. I wanted to make sure she wanted, because it was a 17-hour travel day. Like it is not like, and I have two puppies that live in my house that are 10 months old that are have never been with a cat, doesn't know cat. They're prey dogs. They literally chase everything. And we're trying to integrate now. We haven't even been here a week. We landed literally like 2:30 a.m. on Monday. Like it's been 5 days, like so it's an interesting integration process.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the more that we begin to tap into and allow our higher selves or whoever it is, whatever it is that we're receiving our intuition from, that the more that we allow something in, that is what activates the next
Hmm.
modality or the next thing that comes up for us? Like you started with
Yeah.
animal communication and then you went into different sections.
Yeah, I took like all the courses back in the day for fun, like animal communication, mediumship, past life regression, akashic. I'm trained in all the things because I was just like, oh, that would be so fun to just be trained in that. Never did I ever think I would use it like effectively. Like I had to do case studies through these programs, and then I would just find people that got me in my world because I was the closet spiritual person. You didn't know I was aligned this way unless we had an intimate conversation. I didn't put it out on social media. Like there wasn't stuff like this in my life that I would step into this until I was pushed into this in 2020, where Divine was like, it's time. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm a pragmatic business coach that does process development and leadership development and culture management in companies. And they're like, no, you are not. You're a soul mission activator. And it's time you actually start to do this work. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll consider doing this work like in 2021. And then literally I started getting calls from people. It's like the universe sent out like referrals. And all of a sudden I started getting calls like, hey, I heard that you do this like soul mission stuff. You can help me find my purpose and then like align my business around that. And I was like, who is telling people this? Like, I didn't tell anyone, and it was like the universe dropped it into the people and activated the ones I'm meant to serve out of the gate. And I battled with it in 2021. I was half in, and then finally in 2022, I just was like, the beginning parts of that year, I just made a commitment to be like, I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to listen and I'm just going to keep trusting and I'm just going to surrender in and I'm going to dismantle all the things that are no longer like in alignment vibrationally. And I'm just going to step fully in. And I did. And then everything took off, all these programs, all these people, all these things. And then 2023 was like this heightened energy movement. I moved to Costa Rica at the end of 2022 and it was just like everything just started to move. And I cannot not do this work anymore. Like it's not even a thing. It's just like this is me, you know?
Wow. I really love this. Like you're like, nope, I'm fighting you again.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
it's the truth. Like,
yeah,
and most of us are, and most of you guys listening are somewhere in your life. I guarantee you, you're battling this. You're avoiding it. You're not stepping up into it. You're purposefully like self-sabotaging. A lot of us have destruction in our fields. Like we're like tearing it apart and we're completely destroying stuff because some of us like we're scared. We're scared of speaking light language into the world. We're scared of telling our families that we see spirits. Like we're scared of like all the things because of all the conditioning that we've been conditioned. But we are at that pivotal point in time right now in the collective that it's like, you've been activated, my friend. It's time to step in and you can't avoid it. You will not be able to. The more you avoid, the harder life is going to get for you, period. And then once you surrender in, so much easier. I just want to say that out loud. Yeah.
what can you tell people who are listening to this now and they're feeling like, yeah, I think that's me. I think I've been receiving this. I think I can do whatever, perceive this, that, whatever, but I'm still just too scared or they may be like, I wouldn't know where to begin. How would I do this? What could you tell people who are like on the verge and just don't know what to do in order to get started?
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You do know what to do. Okay. You do know. The storyline though of I don't know is like our safety net. And so like we use that storyline. You do know. You've gotten the hit. You need to just get that meditation done or make that post or create this or go to that event. You already know it's already dropped into your field. You just have to remember it. And if you take moments with yourself, and how this works is you get quiet and you close your eyes and you breathe into your body and get present. And then you ask yourself the question, the answer coming through is the answer, period. That's where we take action. And it's about literally, like I say, one of the pillars of being a light warrior is courage. It's like having that 5 seconds of courage to hit live, to hit post, to send that out, to say yes to this. It's like that 5 seconds. It's all you need to move that needle forward. But you as the human have to decide that the life you really desire to live is worth it and that you will be willing to say the thing, move the thing through, feel dumb in the space of things, not know, but you really do know in the space of it all and just take the action. And it's like, I really want us to dismantle this conversation like we don't know. All the answers are already in you. They are. You just have to go back into yourself and find them and uncover them and do the work to get all that stuff that's been buried on top of it, to pull it out through you to be able to illuminate it. Every single soul on this earth has everything they need in themselves already. Now, us as mentors come in to activate stuff because some of us have forgotten it. And it's a lot faster when you work with somebody else who can see it. But some people are not in that space yet. So it's about taking the moments with you to connect in. It's all there.
Love that. It was so direct. So direct. Like, yep, you know what it is. Like, no BS here.
No, I don't have BS. Like you come into my field, it's like we don't have time for that. Like, like I don't have time to sugarcoat it. It's like here we are in the truth. And sometimes the truth really like hits in our field and we're like, But some of the most biggest transitions I've made in my life were when people spoke truth into me because they had the courage and they cared enough to like look at me to be like, you're not in this, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, and da 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 da. And at first I would be like, what do you mean? And I get all justifying. But then later on, maybe it was even years later, I look back and go, they were right. Like they were right. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was down my spiritual path, I was in a group. I was with a mentor and it was like a group of people.
Mhm.
And everybody kept telling me whatever it is that, they saw in me, and I was still doing the questioning. Is
Yeah.
it real? Can I do it? Like all the things. And this
Mhm.
one person, she was a student, she wasn't even my mentor. She's like, come on, just do it already. Like, we all know what you can do, we all can see it. So, what are you still waiting for? And that felt like a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Because especially it wasn't the mentor, it was like someone that was like lateral, right? Like here studying with me. And I was like, oh. And it's kind of like that gave me permission to like go ahead and make that next step. And that's really what got me to start sharing what I can do. It was like
Yeah.
that directness.
Yeah. I have a membership that I call the collective. And every week on Tuesdays, I teach every week. And literally one of the students' souls in this comes every single week and she writes in the chat, I'm here for my spiritual ass kicking. Like, and it's just like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ass kick this week. I swear, I'm like talking about something else, but then it always comes out in a certain way. She's like, there it is, there it is, and I'm just like when we live and breathe in truth, sometimes, and the conversations that we have, sometimes it's just like it feels like an ass kicking because it's just the truth. And it's just like, okay, we need to honor this and move it through. So
Amazing. Fabulous. Do you feel um do you feel aligned with maybe sharing a little light language with us? Is there
I
any?
don't, yeah, like I don't know, like I could, but I don't know if it's if it's gonna drop. I don't I like I was feeling into that a bit earlier and I was like, I got the answer was no. And I'm like, I I I don't know what I would even tap into. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like at the
Maybe
beginning
an
when we first,
opening, maybe some type of allowing ourselves to move on or to let go of the BS and step into our
yeah,
power.
yeah. Well, there's multiple facets that way. Yeah, I can do like an opening. Like I could, I could tap into an energy of just being able to trust and move through.
That would be
So
beautiful.
whatever that means for people, because all of you, every single soul listening to this conversation that we're having today, whether that's in podcasts or YouTube or wherever they are, every single one of them is in a different calibration of vibration.
Mhm.
So I will tap into a space that will convert into the vibration needed for them to just open up more trust in the space of that. So how light language works is that when it hits an energetic field, it can be transmuted as it moves through. So when we do activations or transmissions, let's say like I have this Mary Magdalene one that I channeled a while back. It's like when Mary speaks through the language, your energy will take it in the energy it needs. So it's like every single one of us is in our own vibrational alignment. So it transmutes into the space to create what is necessary. So I think that would probably work. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It feels like, kind of like Reiki, like the practitioner sends out the energy and then the body takes it wherever it is that it needs it for their highest good. So it's not too much for the person or too little, it's just the perfect amount of transmission, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Something like that. And I feel like I'm gonna bring in the Dragon Realm actually.
Amazing.
Um, because I was right when I'm having conversations at the same time. So like I'm here having a conversation and I'm here having a conversation. And so I'm like, who's coming in to do this? And I just keep hearing dragons and I'm like, okay. So when you obviously if you guys are working, if you're driving right now, and you don't have availability to drop in, don't. You can take the transmission. You can still listen to this. You don't have to hit pause or anything. Just let it flow through you. But I would suggest that if you can, somewhere along the line, come back to this and close your eyes. If you have space right now to close your eyes and ground into your body, and just imagine receiving this. So like imagine being really open in your physical form and literally allowing the heart to open in this space. You'll be then able to bring the energy further into your field. So I'm just going to highly suggest coming back to this if you can't close your eyes now in full receivership, but don't hit pause. You can still have it if you're driving and moving through or you're out running and stuff, because I know we always listen to podcasts all over the place, right? So I listen to them at the gym all the time or when I'm on walks. So it like wouldn't be relevant for me to close my eyes at those moments, but come back to this if you can and do that. Okay, so I'm going to close my eyes if you guys are watching this on YouTube. So and I'm just going to take a breath in. So if you feel called to doing that too, just allow the breath to come into the body and allow yourself to just kind of root in. As I call in the dragon realm, and those that I work aligned, those that I work with in alignment consistently all the time in connection with their light and coming in the purity of their love, light, and truth, to just drop into the field now, to download through me a channeled light language transmission for opening up even more in trust of divinity, in trust of our pathway, in trust of what we're moving through, and whatever calibration that feels and looks like for the people that are listening to this. And allow this to just drop in through me, for this to be opened. And all you have to do is receive. Siakinia sosiasa. Sianakasinia soni. Sanyakasiniasa. Sonyakanya na, nyakanya na. Yakanya na na sakisona. Sanya kisini, sanyasi. Hosinya nanaso, kinyaso. Kanya sana, sonya sana, sonya sana, sonya sanas. Sakinya sakasanya saka. Sakasinya so. Hokinya sanya, 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 san. Sanya kana sana, sanya kana. Dakanya no na sanya si. Hanya kasini sonya na. Sonya na, sonya na, sonya na, sonya na. Doka nakanya si. Sonya kana sanya kanya ko. Danya sinyasa. Danya sinyasa. Sokasinyano. Sasisiaso. 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 Sasanyaso. Saka, saka, saka. Sonyana. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so it is. Cool.
Thank you so much for that. It was a beautiful transmission from the dragon energy.
Yeah, they're really cool to work with, for sure.
The first time I heard light language, I was on a Facebook Live, and the person who was transmitting, she started saying, "I feel that somebody has low back pain," and I had low back pain at that moment. I was actually sitting on my yoga ball, and I look up and it says 1 viewer. I'm like, "That's me!" And literally, the pain went away. And
Yeah.
that was the first time I had ever heard it. And I was like hooked. I was like, what is that? Like, what? Like, I couldn't place it. But I know how I felt afterwards. And she could feel my energy through the internet and remove whatever was, messing up with my body thing. And I was hooked with it. But so I'm sharing this because as you're doing this, I don't know if you guys can hear, but like I'm a little congested today. As you're doing this, I hear like bubbles popping, like those little bubble things, all in my sinuses, and I'm like, what is this happening? So I'm like I'm getting all cleared up from this transmission. Just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Well, the intention was to open. So like
yes, and that's
wherever we
exactly
need opening,
that's exactly what I was going. I'm like, oh, she said open. open and I feel like I'm opening up. Like, so that was so cool. Thank you.
So funny. Oh my God, I love it. You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole trip. And I've learned over the years that I've been working within this and trusting it, I can actually what's the word I'm looking for? Translate. So when I'm speaking it, I'm hearing it also in English, and it's really fun. It wasn't fun when they started to download this certification manuals in light language to me, and I was like, no, 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 no. We're not playing this game, okay? Like I need this in English because that's how it has to be written. And I don't like I'm not like these manuals are 120 pages, 80 pages, like they're big. And I'm like, I am not trying to dictate through light language these manuals. Like, please give it to me in English. Like, but yeah, I can hear it now. I could literally like translate. It's almost like I'm translating in real time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I
it's
love
cool.
that. Amazing. Wow, that's so beautiful. So tell us, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, I like Instagram's my playground. That's what I say all the time. People are like, "Do you have a website?" I'm like, "No, I have 500 million landing pages." And somewhere down the line, I feel like maybe that's a 2025 thing. Like I'll probably get one. I used to have a website. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, but just over the last like 4 or 5 years, I've just kind of been like, I don't really want one. And it'll come back into play. But just come to Instagram, come and see me there. I know you'll have it in the show links, the link to Instagram and stuff, but I play there. A lot of my messages and channeling goes through there. I'm in my stories all the time with updates of energy and things like that. So, yeah, come visit me on Instagram.
Amazing. And as you said, I'm going to put all of your information in the description. So make sure that you go down to the description and you read it so that you can get in touch with Colleen. That's amazing. Is there anything you would like to say that I didn't ask you or something that you want to share that you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I just want to kind of say like, we're at a pivotal time in the timelines right now. And it's getting what seemingly looks like darker and more shadow energies moving through the world, but it's actually the acceleration of light. So I just want to say to you, I know you're doing the work. I know some days are really hard. There's a lot of density moving through the field right now, but all I want you to really remember and tap into is your power every day, your sovereignty, your light beams, your light beacon, and consistently be doing that work to hold that vibration up no matter what happens in the outer world, no matter what's coming through you, like to heal and maneuver through, you have a choice every day to step up into your light. And it's necessary and needed now more than ever before in the earth plane. So I just want to highly encourage you to continue to do that work and to step in. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautifully said. I love it. Love your energy. Love everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for that gorgeous, beautiful, kind transmission you just delivered to us. And thank you for sharing your wisdom here and for all that you're doing for the world.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for this portal way. I'm so grateful to be connected.
Yeah, so with that, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, if you like the content here, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Leave a comment for Colleen. Tell us what you felt through that transmission. Tell us what questions you may have and just drop them in the comments and share so that other people can find this podcast and the messages being shared in here. And with that, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.